Hey, afternoon. Hope you all are well. I will be posting a movie of the week this evening for your entertainment. This is a three-part live pertaining to the Chrisley'S, um, Gypsy Rose, and Morgan Wallen. I want to start with Mr. Wallen. Thank you for joining me. WKRN.com is the source. Nearly 2 weeks after Morgan Wallen was arrested on felony charges for allegedly throwing a chair from the roof of a bar in downtown Nashville, the country music star addressed the incident on social media. According to arrest documents, police were standing in front of Chiefs in the 200 block of Broadway shortly before 11 p.m. on April 7th, when they witnessed a chair come from above and hit the street, landing about 3 feet away from two officers. When authorities approached security to investigate the incident, employees at the bar said Wallen was responsible for throwing the chair. Police said they reviewed video footage that showed Wallen lunging and throwing an object over the roof, which sits 6 stories above Broadway. Witnesses reportedly told law enforcement they were standing next to the 30-year-old musician and saw him pick up the chair, throw it over him, laughing afterward. According to officials, Wallen was taken into custody and charged with disorderly conduct, as well as 3 counts of reckless endangerment for 2 officers who were in the vicinity of the chair and for danger to the public. Records show he was booked into the Metro jail early on April 8th and released hours later. In a statement to News 2 about the arrest, Wallen's attorney said the singer was cooperating fully with authorities. On Friday, April 19th, Wallen took to X, formerly known as Twitter, to discuss the incident. I didn't feel right publicly checking in until I made amends with some folks. I've touched base with Nashville law enforcement, my family, good people at Chiefs. I'm not proud of my behavior and I accept responsibility, the musician said in his first post. He followed up with, I have the utmost respect for the officers working every day to keep us all safe. Regarding my tour, there will be no change. MW. The additional details have been released about the incident at Chiefs, which is owned by Eric Church and celebrated its grand opening on April 5th. Meanwhile, Wallen has tour dates scheduled across the country over the coming months, including 3 shows at Nissan Stadium between May 2nd and May 4th. So that is his statement. Whether you believe them, don't believe them, you're entitled to your opinion. Feel free to go over to my community page. I've posted polls pertaining to the subject matter during this live stream. So do you believe he has remorse? Feel free to check out and go take the poll because that's what I've posted inside of the community page. I don't know if he has remorse or not. Frankly, I'm just going to be truthful. You're too old to do that. Whether you're 30, you're 22, you're 16, it's all the same to me. If you were 50, it's all the same to me. You're too old to be throwing objects over a rooftop, a balcony. Doesn't matter if the balcony's 2 floors, 3 floors up. You threw a whole chair over and was laughing afterwards. Now, what will be the sentence? That's what I'm wondering about. What will a judge render? Will they favor him because he's famous, or will they give him the max? Because imagine had that chair hit someone. It would have been a bad day for whomever got the wind of that chair. And he may get more time, maybe he'll get jail time because they were officers, because anything dealing with officers, a pet, a police dog, you get more time. Everybody knows this. Although no one was hit, no one was injured, but they were on the ground when the object fell, the chair. My thing is, it really doesn't matter who was down there. Police officer, civilian, it doesn't matter. He had no business throwing the damn chair over the rooftop. Very dangerous to do so. So, sorry, little noise, cord fell. I think he's a troublemaker. I think Mr. Wallen is a troublemaker. He has had some other incidents that I've relayed on my network. I think he feels like he's self-entitled to do whatever he feels like doing. And you see this behavior with a lot of people, whether they're famous or not. They do whatever they want and they worry about the consequences later. Sometimes they don't even worry about the consequences. Whatever happens, happens. If they have to do jail time, pay a fine, which is soever, court costs, restitution. There's no logical reason to throw that chair over. And then you're laughing about it. So who was he with that night? Himself? Other people? Because imagine being in the company of him and you realize I'm with a fucking fool. Excuse my language. I'm with a damn fool who doesn't know how to control himself. And I think he's been disorderly before. You see, some people have to learn the hard way. Maybe sitting in jail a little while, he might learn some self-control, some impulse control, because that's what I think his problem is. He has impulse control issues. He lashes out. He does what he wants, okay, verbally. I think he's a problem. I think he's a mad problem. And if you're doing this type of behavior at 30, you've been doing this, because you don't wake up at 30 throwing a chair over a building, knowing there are people below, there are cars below, there are people walking. So that shows me he doesn't have respect for one himself. He doesn't have respect for the business. He doesn't have respect for anybody. And the fact that he has the nerve to say, oh, well, I respect what the police do. No, you don't. You didn't give a damn who was down there. You didn't, it was a cat, a dog, a billy goat. You don't care. That's the reason why you threw the chair over, because you didn't care. I do not believe his apology is sincere. I believe he's a misfit. And as you see, his tour is continuing. He's not stopping the tour because naturally he has to make money. He's going to continue making money because that's his job. He's a singer. But I see him being a problem. And I don't know if it's alcohol, anger management, bipolar. I don't really care. I feel like at 30, you know damn better. And as I said earlier, it doesn't really matter to me how old you are. There is no excuse to throw a fucking chair over a railing. I don't care if you're on the first floor of a building, apartment, 6 stories up. Somebody could have been decapitated. Head injury, coma, lost their life with a chair flying off. That's my content pertaining to Mr. Wallen. Thank you. My next content is pertaining to the Chrisley'S. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie, 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Thank you all so much for joining me on this wonderful Sunday. Let's see what we have pertaining to the Chrisley'S. Their daughter, Savannah, has been very busy talking to the news about her parents, wanting them to get a new trial because I guess they paid some restitution on some taxes. My thing is, you should have thought about that when you owed the money. Number one, you shouldn't have been taking out fraudulent bank loans to live high off the horse. That's number one. You knew you owed taxes 3 different times, and you didn't care to pay the taxes. You're going to hear all that? They paid the taxes after they got their judgment in court, their sentence. So then that tells the world, well, you had some money. So if you had some money before going to trial and getting a guilty verdict, then you should have been paying the bills on the loans, the taxes. So those are 2 separate situations. Owing taxes is number one. Taking out bank loans, 9 times out of 10, lying about their income. That's 2 separate situations. Then you got wire fraud and all these other charges. It's absolutely ridiculous to me. I don't think they should get a new trial. For what? You feel like you shouldn't. These people are crazy to me because you paid the money after the fact. You paid the money after you got your verdict. So now you want to be resentenced, have a retrial. Excuse me. Let's go back into the belly of the beast, how all this BS came to be. Todd has also been ordered to pay $755,000 for slandering a tax investigator. I'm going to read you that information and then go into why they feel like they should get a new trial. Thank you for joining me. Entertainment is the source. Todd Chrisley has suffered another legal loss. The former Chrisley Knows Best star, who is currently incarcerated after being found guilty of financial fraud, has been ordered to pay $755,000 to Georgia Department of Revenue investigator Amy Daugherty Hines after slandering her on podcasts and social media. An 8-person jury, Georgia jury, on Thursday found Chrisley 55 liable for 2 claims of libel and slander, but not liable on a third claim of slander. Dougherty Hines was awarded $350,000 in compensatory damages, $170,000 in punitive damages, $235,000 in attorney fees from the reality TV personality and Atlanta-based businessman. Dougherty Hines had alleged that in 2020, Chrisley began on a social media campaign against the GDOR and certain of its employees, contending that the investigation was illegal and improperly motivated. When the department investigated Chrisley and wife Julie's tax evasion in 2017. So this is a winded process, according to documents obtained by People. Chrisley's attorney, Lisa Gornata, said Wednesday in a statement to Entertainment Weekly, although we are pleased the jury recognized that not all of Mr. Chrisley's statements were defamatory and awarded plaintiff a fourth of the damages she requested, we are concerned about the state of the First Amendment where such a case could make it to trial in the first place. We are optimistic about our appeal. Okay, so they must be appealing this as well, the judgment. So you're appealing court proceedings that got you locked up, plus this judgment, I'm assuming. It's crazy to me. Dougherty Hines' attorney, Nicole Jennings Wade, told EW that her client was thrilled that the verdict was in her favor. She is thankful to the federal jury who vindicated her and found on every count that Todd Chrisley's accusation against her were false and defamatory. Amy is particularly pleased that the jury further found, that Mr. Chrisley acted with actual malice, specific intent to harm her. She hopes that this verdict will help deter Mr. Chrisley from targeting other innocent people in the future. And of course, you know, he's been talking the past couple months about his treatment in jail, the treatment of the inmates, rather, the poor conditions. Naturally, he's getting money from somewhere to fund his stay while being incarcerated. So he's been out, you know, on public platforms talking about how bad the prisons are. Well, that's expected because you're in prison. You can't expect great treatment. It's just the way it is. It's not saying that it's right or wrong. You're entitled to your opinion, but you're not going to get great treatment in prison. Just saying. We've heard all about the food being spoiled. You've told us about the food being spoiled, out of date, people coming back telling you things from the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. That's expected. He's also let us know that he's been living off of certain food from, you know, the paid canteen where you can buy your, you know, potato chips, things like that, because he's been afforded that luxury. Well, naturally, there are people who are incarcerated. They don't have money on the books, so they have to eat what's been given to them, the prison food or jail food. All right. So once again, he says he hopes that the lady is saying she hopes that this will deter him from targeting other people. Dougherty Hines had alleged that Chrisley began attacking her and accusing her of multitude of crimes and wrongdoing, and that he made more than 20 defamatory statements about her, including that she destroyed evidence, illegally utilized the Georgia Crime and Information Center in an investigation, and vacation at Walt Disney World using taxpayer money, according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So how would he know she went to Walt Disney World? So that means what? He hired somebody to look into her personal affairs? This is crazy to me. The plaintiff had initially asked Chrisley to retract his allegedly defamatory statements when he declined to do so, so she filed her lawsuit against him. Chrisley is currently serving a 10-year sentence in federal prison after being convicted of bank fraud, tax evasion in 2022. He testified remotely from prison during the week-long trial. This is so bizarre. So she got a fourth of what she was asking for. So how much was she actually asking for? What is bothersome to me is the fact that he's talking about her vacationing at Walt Disney World with taxpayer money. Who gives a fuck where she goes? Do you have proof she stole some money? Do you have proof she used someone's identity to open up a bank account, credit card account that she investigates? Because I'm trying to understand this woman going to Walt Disney, what does it have to do with your case? His other allegation, illegally utilizing the Georgia Crime Information Center in an investigation. Isn't that her job? You're not making any sense. Her job is to investigate you for not paying your taxes. So she's an IRS worker, and you don't want her to do her job. So basically, you're accusing her of lying, taking trips to Walt Disney, which makes no damn sense, using taxpayers' money. She works for the government. So you're saying she can't go anywhere? But you can go into a bank, you and your wife, and lie and get millions and millions of dollars in bank loans, which means you probably lied about your income, get the loans, then you file for bankruptcy, but she, an IRS worker, can't take a trip to Walt Disney. Please explain to me the relevance of her going to Walt Disney versus her investigating you for fraud, you and your wife. And you feel like because what? You paid the money after getting a guilty verdict and sentenced to prison, that should eradicate the crimes that you and your wife exacted. It doesn't matter that you paid the money after trial, one day after trial, one day before trial, Mr. Todd. The point is you exacted a crime. So that means you lied to the banks, never paid them the money. You owe the government taxes for different years. What does it have to do with her and what she's doing with her damn money in her pocketbook? And then you feel like, well, we paid the money 4 months after trial ended. That should be wiped clean. Just charge us with the other charges. This is how you know this is another crazy person who feels self-entitled. So to me, he's no different than Mr. Wallen over here in Nashville. Throwing chairs off of balconies, don't give a F. Now I want to apologize. Hope y'all understand. I had to think about, you have to think about what? You have to think about what to apologize? You are or you're not. So now we have Mr. Chrisley, reality TV star, businessman. He and his wife both are incarcerated. Daughters all over TV talking about they need to get a retrial. It still doesn't eradicate that you committed fraud. Now, maybe in the investigation that I'm learning, some things were not true allegedly about a portal. A portal is saying one thing they owe, and actually they didn't owe that money. Okay, well, the government can rectify that and deduce that sentence according to information that is actually accurate of what they owe. But you're trying to act like you've done nothing. You didn't owe the government any money. You didn't allow documents to seal to get loans. That's still a crime. And then you didn't pay the people the money. You didn't pay the bank loans. Now you're saying, well, I've paid some of the tax money back. Okay, but you still owe somebody some money. So what is the problem? Entertainment is the source, everybody. This is bizarre. This is some bizarre nonsense. Going to bring you more content pertaining to these buffoons. So $755,000 owed to IRS worker. The court says yes, they owe her that for talking bad about her, Mr. Todd. You don't hear any mention from the wife. Maybe she decides to keep her mouth closed and say, I'm not getting wrapped up in this nonsense because I'm already doing time. I'm not trying to make it worse for myself. Let's talk about the appeal. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. Courthouse News Services, the source. A panel of 11th Circuit heard arguments Friday to decide whether reality TV stars Julie and Todd Chrisley could be entitled to a new trial on their federal bank fraud and tax evasion convictions after they claimed prosecutors conspired with an IRS officer to misrepresent their tax debts. Currently serving 12 and 7-year prison sentences, respectively, husband and wife Todd and Julie Chrisley claim a Georgia federal judge unfairly failed to hold a hearing on their allegation that an Internal Revenue Service lied on the witness stand about how much money the defendants owed the IRS at the time of their trial. The Chrisley Knows Best stars and their accountant Peter Tarantino were convicted of bank fraud, tax evasion, conspiracy offenses in June 2022. Julie Chrisley was also convicted of wire fraud and obstruction of justice for submitting a falsified document to the grand jury. The government says the couple funded funded their lavish lifestyle by submitting bogus documents to Atlanta community banks to secure more than $36 million in fraudulent loans. They failed to repay over $20 million in loans when Todd Chrisley declared bankruptcy. The Chrisleys hid income from the reality show and tried to evade payment of back taxes. The couple was ordered to pay restitution and a forfeiture money judgment of $17.2 million. An attorney for the Chrisleys argued Friday that prosecutors knew the defendants did not owe the IRS at the time of the trial, but told IRS Revenue Officer Betty Carter to base her testimony on the agency's employee user portal, which showed that the couple still owed taxes for several years. So this is where the conflict comes in, where they were accusing the IRS lady of doing illegal activities and conspiring with the district attorney. But you see, she also won a judgment from these false allegations by Mr. Todd Chrisley. Attorney Alex Little of Byrne Foreman said prosecutors believe that if Carter were relying on the portal, a technically correct document, but one that they recognized was misleading, her testimony would be considered true. Assistant U.S. Attorney Annalise Peters said there is no evidence whatsoever suggesting that the government coached the witness to lie or that Carter intentionally gave inaccurate testimony. The Chrisleys still owe taxes. Repeat, they still owe taxes for 2010, 2011, 2016 at the time of the agent's testimony. Repeat, they owe taxes 2010, 2011, 2016 when this woman testified in court. The Chrisleys wrote checks to clear those debts in September of 2022, 4 months after the trial. So this is where I'm saying, you still owe the government the money at the time of trial, and then you only paid those taxes back after your guilty verdict. So it doesn't negate that you paid it afterwards as if you never owed it, because if you didn't owe it, you would have still never paid it after your guilty verdict. These people are ridiculous. U.S. District Judge Eleanor Ross sided with the government in January of 2023, ordered rejecting the Chrisleys' request for a new trial. Ross also denied the Chrisleys' motions for acquittal. U.S. Circuit Judge Robin Rosenbaum, a Barack Obama appointee, asked Friday whether the allegations are pure speculation on the defendant's part. Little told the panel that Chrisleys had no outstanding tax liability at the time of the trial and that, in fact, the IRS owed them money. The IRS didn't know what it was doing, Little said. The left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. Although the government has admitted that certain records admitted at trial did not accurately reflect some of the tax payments made by the Chrisleys, Peters said the government was unaware of the inaccuracies until the trial ended. So is that true that the IRS did not know of the inaccuracies? What is the truth? In any case, Peters argued the mistake could not have impacted the jury's verdict. He says whether or not any taxes were owed at the time of the trial was immaterial to any element, to any charge in this case, Peters said, adding that eventual payments made by the Chrisleys did not nullify their crimes. Exactly. You still owe something. That's the point. Whether you paid some on some taxes or not, the tax portal said you owed more. That still doesn't have anything to do with the bank loans. So the bank loans and the IRS are two different entities. Well said. An attorney for Chrisley's accountant, Peter Tarantino, also presented arguments on Friday, telling the panel that his client's trial was unfairly lumped in with Chrisley's. Tarantino was convicted of aiding the filing of false tax returns, sentenced to 3 years in prison and fined $35,000. The trial court should have tried Tarantino separately to avoid a spillover effect from the misdeeds of his clients. Attorney Donald Samuel of Garland, Samuel, and Loeb said. The scope of the charges against the Chrisley's dwarfed the evidence presented against Tarantino, Samuel said. Samuel argued that Tarantino was unfairly impacted in the jury's eyes by the Chrisley's ostentatious wealth and their failure to pay taxes in the years before his client was hired to represent them. It's the equivalent of a lawyer being charged with his client because of what the lawyer did to defend his client, Samuel said. As the CPA, he didn't have a duty to ensure that all taxes were paid. Very interesting. Why not? If you're their accountant, why wouldn't you tell them to pay their taxes? I'm trying to understand that. He says, Tarantino had a duty to ensure that he wasn't involved in trying to evade taxes. I don't know. Hold on, let me go back. He says, as the CPA, he didn't have a duty to ensure that all taxes were paid. Well, it seems like to me, if you are the accountant, you would be instructing your client to try to pay all of your taxes, and so you don't end up going to penitentiary, having other penalties. Why would I be hired to be your tax accountant? And I see that you owe taxes, but I don't tell you, hey, you need to pay your taxes. This makes no sense to me. So what type of accountant is he then? But Rosenbaum quickly shut down that argument, interrupting the attorney to point out that Tarantino had a duty to ensure that he wasn't involved in trying to evade taxes. The panel was rounded out by senior U.S. Circuit Judge Gerald Tejoflat, a Gerald Ford appointee, and Trump-appointed U.S. Circuit Judge Kevin Newsom. The judges did not indicate when they would rule on the case. Courthouse News Service is the source of this information. This was uploaded Friday, everybody. Will they get an appeal? See, a lot of us don't know legal wranglings. But the one thing you have to always remember is that if you've done something that you're not supposed to do, and there's a law that says it is illegal, it doesn't matter that you went and you paid thereafter you got a guilty verdict. It doesn't erase what you have done. And somehow in this sick man's mind, Mr. Todd, he believes because they paid the back taxes, then what? You should what? Walk free? You still committed crimes of not paying the taxes, number one. Lying to get money from the bank. So that's a separate crime. Plus fraud, obstruction, justice, her going to the grand jury, or giving the grand jury false documents, that's a crime. Because you're not supposed to lie in a grand jury proceeding. You're not supposed to lie when you go to court to testify. It is what it is. So what are these two confused about? I'm going to say this. These people are not the first people to ever do this. A lot of people lie on their taxes. A lot of people claim other people on their taxes, which is against the law. A lot of people secure loans for things that have nothing to do with what they're asking for. And the banks don't know. As I said before, you could go to a bank and say, well, I'd like to remodel my house. I need $125,000. And then the bank gives you the $125,000. The bank does not know that you took the $125,000 and went on trips and went and got your hair and nails done and got your booty lifted, got your breasts lifted, got an implant. You see where I'm going? How would the bank know that? The bank don't know that you went to Europe, you went to the UK, you gave Pookie Ray Ray $20,000, you went and bought a new car with the $125,000. How would the bank know that? The only thing the bank wants is their money. That's what the bank wants. So you count in, you're getting millions of dollars in loans fraudulently because 9 times out of 10, you fabricated your income. And then you also did not pay taxes for 2010, 2011, 2016. And you feel like you should be vindicated for those actions because you pay after the fact. No, it doesn't work like that. And then people are going to look at you and still say you're a fraud, you and your wife, because you paid the taxes after getting a guilty verdict 4 months afterwards. That means you had the money. And it's also saying it is believed that you all are hiding money. I also looked at your net worth Mr. Todd, and you're only worth about $1 million, $1.5 million. So what somebody's going to ask themselves, how is it that you're owing $17.2 million? You're only worth $1 million. Do you still have your nice house in Nashville? I read that. Looked at some of your properties that you own, 2 houses. Do you own those 2 houses now? Have you sold them? And I'd like to know what's wrong with Savannah. What is your problem? I did a short about her yesterday. Please check out my shorts on my channel. They only give us 15 seconds to talk a bunch of junk about whatever. But nonetheless, what are you whining about? Are you whining because you don't want to be responsible for taking care of your sister that your parents left behind? Well, this should show you that your parents are irresponsible. This is why I don't understand you. You're just as ignorant as your parents. You're running around here jumping on news channels and talking to everybody and podcasts and stuff. Your parents are irresponsible individuals, okay? They have lied to entities about their income, to get income, spend the money, file bankruptcy. The law calls it theft, whether people want to agree or your parents want to agree. And yet you want to get up here and cry as if somebody has wrongly convicted your parents of a crime, plural. I think you just don't want to be responsible for your sister, or you're just a big ass crybaby and you need to grow up. So what? Your parents did this. Your parents are incarcerated by their own doing. And the fact that you have been left to take care of this child, well, if you don't want to take care of her, let somebody else take care of her. If it's become a burden to you, I see that you also sold your beauty supply company, online company. Was it failing? They had a good run, it said, 2023. Oh, that's a choice too, ma'am. You get involved with that guy who was married to a woman who was trying to kill him, and she had some island boys trying to kill her husband. I'm looking at you wondering why the hell you reached out to him. Why were you trying to get tangled up with that guy? Seems like to me you're bored. And we've learned when people get bored, this is when they get themselves wrapped up into drama. And this looks like to me, you're going down the path like your parents. Because if you don't have viable income to take care of yourself and take care of that kid you're taking care of, you'll probably end up in the same situation like your parents. You'll do something desperate to try to get some money. And once again, ma'am, that would be your choice. But all this hooping and hollering you're doing on ABC News and other networks, it is ridiculous. And you're too old for this behavior. You're almost, 30 years of age? What is your damn problem? Your parents defrauded banks and the IRS, paid some of the money back to the IRS after the fact, after the guilty verdict, and you're sitting here acting like, oh, my parents, they're wrongly convicted, they need a new trial, and you're just as blind as they are. Blind and delusional. So you refuse to accept the fact that your parents committed fraud. And that's exactly the message you're sending to the public. That's the message you're sending to the universe and also that child that you're taking care of. It's okay for our parents to lie, cheat, steal. It's okay, it's okay. We're going to rally for them anyway, and we're going to pretend they haven't done anything wrong. That's the message you're sending to the universe, that you basically condone what they have done. There's no reason to go out here getting bank loans, knowing you can't pay them back. They weren't generating enough money to be paying back $20 million. You're only getting so much money from the reality TV show. Naturally, you've got to save some of that money, plus whatever businesses your father had. If he had lucrative businesses, number one, he would have had no reason to be securing fraudulent loans. Number two, he and your mother had no reason to be having back taxes. So the back taxes have nothing to do with the loans. And you just sit up here and act like it's no big deal. I'm fighting for my parents. I'm fighting for my parents. You act like your parents have been accused of murdering somebody and they've been wrongly convicted. It's called fraud, and they signed their names on documents, which would be the bank loans. And those are probably separate because we don't even know how many loans there are. Fraud, 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 fraud. Now you owe taxes and you're not trying to pay the people the money. But then you decide to pay after you've been found guilty. And then you want the judge to say, oh, well, okay, you paid it. We'll take some of that time off your sentence. Doesn't work like that. Now, did the IRS make a mistake in calculations? Maybe they did. So they need to stand account as well. If they tallied up amounts that were not correct, the government needs to stand account for that and tally up the correct amount, and then go to the judge to say, yes, we miscalculated some of their tax monies that were actually paid before trial, not after. So if a judge can see and get proof that the IRS miscalculated monies, then yes, some of your time should be reduced. But you still owe that lady $755,000 slander. You're worried about what she's doing in her spare time with her life because you're mad that you're incarcerated. She has nothing to do with why you're incarcerated. And you need to bring proof that she's done something fraudulently. But a panel has already ruled on that. That you lied on the lady. And she only knows what the paperwork brings up. Then you accuse her of conspiring with the district attorney. The district attorney says, well, we didn't lie and we didn't ask her to lie. Now, can people be fraudulent in their behavior and calculations and conspiring with a district attorney? Of course they can. I'm not here to say that they couldn't or didn't. All I'm saying is you got to have proof. And so far, it's not looking good in your favor because you've already been ordered by a judge to pay this woman $755,000 on a defamation suit. So you need to take your problems up with the head knockers in the IRS and say, well, she made a mistake. This is what we paid before we went to trial. This is what we actually owed before going to trial. But it doesn't work in your favor because you pay after trial. It doesn't work like that. We know that you're going to owe people whether you're found guilty or innocent. So if you're found guilty of owing for fraudulent behavior, 9 times out of 10, you still owe that money. So you owed it regardless. This is ridiculous to me. Your behavior is asinine. But this is what happens when you become self-entitled. And another thing I want to say to you, you're really in the right place where you need to be because you act very feminine, in my opinion, for a man. I said that. I always thought that. The times I have passed the TV show and just, flipping the channels and seeing pictures of you, magazines, different things. First thing I said is, I don't watch this show, but this guy acts awfully feminine. You look coiffed up, you look made up for a guy, and that to me is disturbing. And that has nothing to do with your fraud. That's just a queen talking. There's something off with you. And then you're down in Atlanta where we already know it's predominantly gay men down there any damn way. Let them tell it. Let the streets tell it. So for all I know, you walking around with some skeletons and bones in the damn closet. Because I think you like men. I said that. I think you do. I think you're very feminine. I think you're a very feminine man. That's why when I first saw the show years ago, I didn't even know what it was about. Because I was like, what the hell is this? Who is this? He married with what? Not no damn kids. A wife and some kids? I said, shit, this a lie. This a whole lie. This man living a whole lie. I said that. Third subject, everybody. Gypsy Rose. Thank you for joining me. Hope you all are well. Got a few people in the house. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is the subject of the hour. Lord have mercy, 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 mercy. A few weeks ago, she was seen out with an ex-boyfriend. She has filed divorce from filing for divorce from Mr. Ryan Anderson of 2 years. Married him while she was incarcerated. You're entitled to leave whatever you want, but take my polls because it's on my community page pertaining to all the subjects that are mentioned during this live stream. Do you believe this woman's on the hustle, on the take? She only married him so she can get some spousal support thereafter. She had no plans on staying with him long, being married to him. What's the truth pertaining to Gypsy Rose? What's the deal with this ex-boyfriend? He says he's not clout chasing because he was in her company. She claims they were friends, but why are you holding hands with your friends? A guy friend. I've never held hands with any of my guy friends. I'm just saying. I have not. Let's read the information pertaining to her and the ex from the 1st of April. Gypsy Rose Blanchard has found post-breakup company with a former love. Less than a week after sharing news of her and husband Ryan Anderson's split, the 32-year-old stepped out with her ex-fiancé Ken Urker, who she was previously engaged to while serving prison time for the 2015 murder of her mom, Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard, in her home state of Louisiana. On April 4th, Gypsy and Ken were spotted holding hands as they shopped at a local Dollar General. After grabbing a few items, including a bag of white chocolate Reese's peanut butter cups, ooh, I like those too, as you can see, and a can of Armor All tire foam, the pair hopped into the same truck with Ken behind the wheel and Gypsy riding along in the front passenger seat. Well, eating chocolates and Armor All. What a combination. Shut your mouth. Guess he wanted to look good while riding his friend around in his car. The cozy-looking outing came just days after Gypsy and Ken got matching dog tattoos, according to TMC. Now, this makes no sense, Gypsy, Ken. If you're friends, excuse me, why would you be getting matching dog tattoos? Somebody has really been telling your business. Reese cups, Tyrol, dog tattoos. Who gets dog tattoos with their friend and they're currently married to someone? Please help me understand. I'm utterly confused. Or am I confused? I don't think I'm confused. So does that mean the two are rekindling their romance? Not quite. We have not had any intimacy, Ken shared on April 3rd TikTok Live, as seen in footage captured by the outlet. We're just hanging out as friends. That's all it is. In the same live stream, he shot down claims of clout chasing. I'm not a content creator, Ken said. All my socials are private. Well, that doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. Gypsy was first introduced to Ken in 2017 when he wrote to her amid her incarceration after watching the HBO documentary Mommy Dead and Dearest. The duo quickly became pen pals before Ken took their relationship a step further with a prison visit. The kiss he gave me was quite passionate, Gypsy told E! News in a 2019 interview. I looked at him and was like, I didn't even know you liked me like that. And he said, yeah, I have for a while. The couple got engaged in October 2018, but their romance fizzled out while Gypsy was still behind bars. She went to marry Ryan, a school teacher, in 2022 in a prison ceremony. However, in her recent Lifetime docuseries, The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Gypsy admitted that she always had a difficulty of letting go of my ex-fiancé, Ken. Very interesting. We were so connected at one time that I felt he was a soulmate, she admitted. 3 years ago, he ended the relationship. It was devastating to me. So now we hear that he's the one who ended it, not Gypsy Rose. Gypsy was released from prison in December of 2023. To see what she's been up to since then, keep reading. Well, I will. In this article, you see selfies of her with family members, Mr. Ryan, just absolute nonsense, quite frankly. All this chitter chatter, the New York trip, all the interviews, 2 different platforms, to now, months later, file for divorce. In late March of 2024, 3 months after her prison release, Gypsy shared that she and Ryan broke up. People have been asking what is going on in my life, she wrote in a statement on her private Facebook page. According to People, unfortunately, my husband and I are going through a separation, and I've moved in with my parents' home down the bayou. Days later, Gypsy was spotted out with her ex-fiancé, Ken Urker. He said that the two are just hanging out as friends. So that's days later after going on social media to say she and the husband separated, okay? And she moved in with her parents. And then days later, she's spotted with Mr. Urker. Gypsy underwent a rhinoplasty and septoplasty nose job April 5th, 2024. Her physical transformation is set to be documented on Lifetime's Gypsy Rose, Life After Lockup in summer of 2024. So she's had some plastic surgery. Gypsy filed for divorce from Ryan April 8th of this year, according to court documents obtained by TMZ. The filing came nearly 2 years after their July 22 prison wedding. So right now they haven't even been married 2 whole years. E-News is the source of this information. So Mr. Urker says this is not clout chasing, him being in her company. Well, what is it exactly? Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday to everybody. Thank you for joining me. Well, then what is it? First, let me start off, addressing Gypsy. What was your intention, Gypsy Rose, with Ryan? Did you have any, I don't know how to word this. Did you plan on trying to build a life with the man? Because in the filing documents, you also asked for a restraining order because of your social media accounts. You come off of social media. Allegedly, you have a private Facebook page. My thing is still, I don't understand this order of protection against him. Is it against him or it's against, how can an order of protection be against social media? I'm trying to understand what you're saying. That you don't want him talking to you on social media. You don't want him responding to anything. Well, that's still up to you. Facebook, IG is all the same. You either accept a person's request or you don't. So he can't reach out to you on social media if, one, you have him blocked. He has to send you a message, just like in Messenger. You have to actually go into the Messenger app, what I call the little alcove, and go dig it up to see if somebody sent it to you. It doesn't rarely pop up to even see if somebody sent you a message on Facebook through Messenger. You have to go look it up. So I'm trying to understand, what is the purpose of this order of protection? Order of protection against what? So has he been violent, not violent? Because you all are trying to act like, oh, it's not about him. Then what the fuck is it about? Did you intend to be with this man? That's what I like to know. Why are you reaching out to this other guy, your ex? You had to have contacted him, or he's been contacting you. Which is it? Because I'm not here to even say, because I want to make sure I'm careful about what I say. Mr. Urker, did you contact her since she's been locked up? Before she got out? Let's go way back. Before she was released, did you contact her to say, I miss you, I made a mistake? And she still was talking to you even though she was with Ryan? Because I'm starting to wonder, when did you two make contact? Because it's too convenient that she has filed for divorce, asked for a restraining order, also asking for spousal support. We're going to get to that here in a minute. And then poof, voila, you two show up at the Dollar General. Help the queen understand. I'm not clout chasing. All my pages are private, he says. But you've been seen. Somebody's following this heifer around down there. Somebody's following her around. So I have 1,000 questions. Please go to my community page because I don't feel like posting them right now during this live. All those questions I put up pertaining to Gypsy Rose. If you want to take the polls, they're on my community page pertaining to her being genuine with him. Did she marry him for the right reasons? Did she marry him just so she can get money from him? Where I have a problem with all of this is the obvious. Tattoos, you're holding hands, but yet you're telling us it's no big deal. And you're popping up with her right after she's filed for divorce. She's asking for spousal support. Why should he pay you spousal support? He's only been with you physically less than 3 months, Gypsy Rose. What judge is going to give you a spousal support from a man that you've only lived with for less than 3 months? You got out the end of December. You have already left 1st of April. That's not even 3 months. Or 3 months or so. So a judge is going to look at all that. A judge is going to look at your past. The judge is going to look at what you've been doing on social media, what you've been saying, the messages you've been sending out to the universe. And then they're going to ask themselves, is this woman genuine? Does she deserve spousal support? He's also going to look at any income that you have acquired with or without your husband. The fact that you have been doing documentaries, that leads us to believe you have been paid. So a judge is going to say to himself, why would I give her spousal support if she's signed up for money for a documentary? So then we got to ask how much you were paid. Did you give some of that money to him? Because he's also in the documentary. How much was Gypsy Rose paid? Number one. How much was he paid? Number two. Was anybody else paid any money in the documentary? So if you got a substantial amount of money from the documentary, how are you going to go into court and say, I need spousal support? You also still dealing with probation and everything with the courts. He's also going to weigh that. You're living with your family. So maybe this was a setup from the beginning. I'll be with him a few months to a year, whatever. I'll leave, go stay with my mommy, daddy. They'll let me come stay with them. And then the judge will show me favor. You hope the judge will show you favor. See, everybody in the story needs to be aware of one thing. She has been taught to be a grand manipulator and a liar. Not by her choice, okay? Not by her choice. Because one, she didn't choose Dee Dee as a parent. So that's not her fault that Dee Dee was her mother. But the point is she has been groomed to be a sociopath. And I do believe possibly that's what we're dealing with here is a sociopath. She knows how to lie. She knows how to manipulate. She knows how to bat her lashes. So right now, we don't even know how she and Mr. Urker even got connected. He reached out to her. She reached out to him. She started having problems with Ryan. She went and called him, messaged him. He felt sorry. He felt bad. Okay, I misjudged you. I made a mistake. Woo, woo, woo. Have they been sending love letters, love talks, pictures, unsavory pictures to one another? What's the truth? Why have you come off of social media? See, there's 1,000 questions you can ask. You came off of social media because you know how it's going to look when you go to court, and you don't want anything incriminating on those pages to be read at your marriage deposition, so on and so forth. Have you hired an attorney? Or are you asking for him to pay all your legal fees? Oh, the questions go on and on. Do you have an attorney, Gypsy Rose? Number one. Are you asking Mr. Ryan to pay for your attorney fees? Number two. Mr. Ryan, do you want to divorce Gypsy Rose? Are you in love with her, want to reconcile? Please take those polls on my community page. Should she be granted spousal support by a judge? For how long? Is she in a relationship with Mr. Urker? Because I don't see the point in holding hands. As I said, I don't hold hands with any of my male friends. We may hug when I see them. Hey, long time no see, or how you doing? But there is no touchy-feely, there's no groping, there's no inappropriate behavior with the queen and any of her male friends. I've never done it. I've never even kissed a male friend before. For what? So I sure the hell wouldn't be going to the tattoo parlor to get matching dog tattoos. Who the fuck does that? Now, see, this is a Sunday. I wanted to try to be sanctified, but I can't. Sorry, my refrigerator's having a malfunction. It's digesting itself. Gypsy Rose, what the hell is going on with you? You didn't want us judging you. A lot of people had a lot of nasty things to say about you shortly after you got out. And I think a lot of it was because of your attitude towards the young man who unalived your mother. And yes, it was his choice, but it has been said he has a mental disorder. I do not know. Some argue that he's not mentally challenged. He doesn't have any type of autism or autism spectrum. I don't know anything about that. That's between him and God and his medical provider. But you did seem to be separated from the crime, and that bothered me. So I weighed up and down with your attitude when you were released from prison pertaining to that young man. Because some would say he planned it, you planned it, he seemed to enjoy it. You know, he talked about, what he did to your mother, bragging. He doesn't seem like, he has any remorse. He seemed like he knew what he was doing. He was aware of his faculties. I would agree with that. But then maybe there's a flip side. There's something wrong with him. I don't know. We already know there had to be something wrong with him for him to do it. But then we also learned that people are easily coerced into murder. watching a true crime story late this morning, and I was just amazed to see how people can get in collusion into killing people. 2 cops conspiring to kill this man's, the cop's wife's ex-boyfriend, ex-husband, or whatever, some type of nonsense. You just don't know people. That's the point. And didn't hear the end. These people had any mental disorders. All these people getting in collusion with one another. But people are weak-minded. And you can see that with the Oklahoma, country now, the Oklahoma 4 misfits. That people can easily be coerced into doing some foolishness and deviant crimes such as homicide. This is why you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be aware of the company you keep, because you don't know people. And you don't know what somebody's going to bring to you one day to say, hey, I was wondering, could you do this for me? Or could you do this? And you're sitting here debating when you shouldn't be debating. And that's my advice to young people. I don't give advice to older people because that's like talking to the wall. But to young people, if it doesn't sound right, you know it's not right, don't do it. I don't care what it is. Lying, stealing, fraud, murder, attempted murder, assault, don't do it. You want to do it on your own? I still say don't do it. Too much living to do, to be locked up in prison. So definitely don't conspire with a person to do any wrongdoing, because they will surely turn on you. And what this young man needs to understand, if you are involved with her, because you're not going to tell us the truth anyway, you need to be very leery because you cut her off for a reason. And I think you cut her off because you thought maybe she was messing around with some other men or getting mail from other men. This is what they do in prison. This is what you should have known. And this is what other people need to know about talking to people locked up. It is a hustle. It is a hustle. Okay? No matter what the crimes they committed, to go to prison, to jail, it is a hustle to get people to write, to correspond, to visit. They need your money. I'm not saying that they're not lonely in there, but they need money to survive in prison. So when you're looking at people doing 5 years, 6 years, 20 years, hell yeah, they need somebody in there. If they don't have any family that's putting money on the books, they need somebody to give them money, send them money, visit them. Hell yeah, they'll talk to you, talk to Susie, talk to Barbara. She probably had a lot of men pursuing her because we have all type of Captain Save-A-Hoes. Excuse my language. They're all type of Captain Save-A-Hoes. You got men wanting to save women. You have women wanting to save men. You can't save people out here. And like I said, it's not her fault that Dee Dee was her mother and coerced her into lying, but there were chances that Gypsy Rose could have escaped her mother, but she didn't. So we could say this is a case of Munchausen syndrome by proxy. I don't know. But a lot of people have been hoodwinked by people and chasing behind them, knowing they're no good. They don't mean them any good. And we chase them anyway, talk to them, deal with them. We're all guilty of dealing with people that are not good for us. There may have been no murder involved, no theft, no crime, no fraud, but you know you're talking to a fool. You know you're dealing with a fool. And that's what happened with her mother. Her mother was foolish, she was ignorant, and she was deviant. She was a clout chaser. She wanted attention. She did that by using her daughter. Sadly, her daughter plotted her death with a young man, a complete stranger. And this young man needs to think about all of that. And I'm not here to say that Gypsy Rose does not deserve love, but people need to tread lightly in dealing with her. What she needed to have done when she got out of prison was to seek some mental therapy and get some help. Own her responsibility for murdering her mother. Own the responsibility that she lured that young man to get trapped in that mess with her. She needs to be working on herself. Now, how's it going to work with her family? She's currently living with her father and his wife and maybe a sibling or two. How is that going to work out? Will she be able to sustain healthy relationships with her father, stepmother, brother, sister, cousin, whomever? Or will they be ready to put her ass out? And I think they should have told her, you don't need to be seen with that guy. You're still legally married, ma'am. Why are you walking around with a guy at the Dollar General and getting fucking tattoos? See, this is how you know Gypsy Rose is not thinking with a full deck. She's doing what other people do out here. Because I think she made a comment about that. People getting on social media. People do it all the time. Why shouldn't I be different? Pay attention. She said that soon after getting out of prison. Everybody else is doing it. Oh, because everybody else is cheating on their husband or wives or walking out in public still married. You think that's okay? Just like there's some nonsense with a YouTuber right now, Miss Vassar. She does organizational videos. I just started watching her briefly, past 2 weeks or so. Next thing I know, here comes a nasty video from her husband talking about her, what happened in her marriage. And this is what I'm saying. You don't know people. He's saying this, she's saying this. And now he's got a girlfriend and swears for God, oh, I didn't start messing with this woman until, me and my wife separated. Why have a girlfriend, period? You know you got to go to court. You know you got to divvy up your resources, your incomes. Why would you want somebody to bring that into court? To say you have a girlfriend. You bring the girlfriend around your daughter. Allegedly, the little girl came home or the boy came home saying, oh, I got 2 mommies now. See, this is what I'm talking about. The stuff that you all don't think about when going to court. When you go to court to file for divorce, you don't want anybody coming in that courtroom with any salacious news about you. Will people lie on you? Hell yes, they will. But you can back it up with proof. Hell, call that person in. Of course, people still lie, of course, even in court. No, we weren't dating. We're not dating. We're not sleeping with each other. But I'm just saying, I wouldn't give a person ammunition. So walking around with a girlfriend and you are legally married, whether you separated or not, moved in another house, this, that, I still would have had a girlfriend. So that situation with that YouTuber, her and her husband, all this nonsense playing out on YouTube, is no different than this mess here. You just got out of prison, having an infamous case of murder with your mother. You're doing documentaries here and there. Movies have been made about you. Some of it's true, some of it's not, factual, made up, whatever. Now this man, you only been with him 3 months and you're already gone. So I'm wondering, when did she actually leave her residence with Mr. Ryan? Because you don't really know what's the truth. People tell you anything. So how long were they really in the house? Were they sleeping together, kissing, making love? No affection. What is the real reason she wants out of the marriage? Is he controlling, wanting attention? He's enjoying the limelight? Some of you thought that. And I feel like Mr. Ryan has not fully assessed his responsibility as a school teacher and getting himself wrapped up with someone with this infamous past. Because if I was a mother, I don't know if I'd want him as my child's teacher. Because I might say to myself, he doesn't know how to make rational decisions. And I know, as I said, she needs love, he needs love, other men need love. But what you have to ask yourself, is Gypsy Rose the person that you need to be loving? You're entitled to your opinion. But this is why we're human and we're of the flesh, we judge. So there are probably some parents who did not want him as their child's teacher. That is their opinion. Staff, school board, same thing. 9 times out of 10, he's in a union, teachers union. They would fight for his job if somebody tried to fire him, which he has been fired before. So I didn't think this job would last once they came out in public with their relationship. There are so many intricate details to this debacle with her and him that, as I said, nobody thought this out. You're just running on emotion, physical attraction, possibly greed. And then you come out here into the universe, you start putting stuff out here for everyone to see, and you're not thinking clearly. And I don't think Ryan thought about his life, his livelihood, his profession, dealing with her, telling people about her. You should have never done that. I don't think you should have married her. I don't think you should have came out publicly with her. I think you should have kept doing what you were doing and found you another single, white, Asian, black woman, whomever, that has not been locked up, has not been in prison. See where I'm going? But it is what it is. You can't take it back. Now, she's been seen out with an ex who was talking to her when she was locked up. But he cut her off for his own reasons. So what we have to tell ourselves is, sir, why are you tangled up with her? Because there's no way we're going to believe that you're not tangled up. Because 9 times out of 10, she reached out to you. You reached out to her, however it went. And now she needs somebody to talk to. So here you are. But what you got to remember is you left her in prison for a reason. And she needs to remember that, and so do you. Because whatever went wrong with Ryan, free could still be a problem if she gets tangled up with Mr. Urker or whomever. And that's what nobody in the story is thinking about. Behavior now. Why she really left Ryan. Who's going to tell the truth? He's not going to tell the truth. She ain't going to tell the truth. It could be over anything. Smelly feet, smelly socks. Somebody leaves somebody leaves the toilet up. Somebody's eating too much Doritos. Who the hell knows? Can a person reform, change themselves? Absolutely. But this is a diabolical situation because it started with demon behavior, and that's with the mother. She groomed her daughter. Okay? She groomed her daughter, and that daughter may have these ways that will spill over into her life if she doesn't get adequate help. Because everybody needs to pay attention to the past, because the past is an indicator of future behavior. Everybody knows this. Dr. Phil has said it 1,000 times. It is so true. Once again, you can change, but you have to want to change. You have to get help to change. If she has manipulative ways, deviant ways, she needs help. And I'm not here to say she's deviant. What I'm saying is she's been groomed. And that behavior does not just stop because you go to prison. And we've seen that with the high recidivism rates in the United States of people who commit crimes. They usually go back to penitentiary for the same crime or something worse. And that would be a shame. And that's something else everybody needs to pay attention to. Her being groomed by Dee Dee, she's only been free a few months and she's already left her husband and moved back in with her parents. How long is that going to last? Is that going to work out? What is her actual mindset? Will she go out here and pick up somebody else? Because that's another thing I put on the post. Please take the post. Will we find out she finds her somebody else and she moves out from her parents' house. Now she's taking up living with somebody else and the cycle starts all over again. Because we don't really know if she wants to work, go to school. She wants to speak publicly about abuse, violence, blah, blah, blah. But you don't know her. And you got to remember, she went to penitentiary at 20-something years of age. So she left her mother's house as an adult with the age of what? 11, 12-year-old. And then she went from birth to being groomed up until 21 or so. Then straight to prison. She doesn't have an identity. She now has to find herself, as she has said, why she's left Ryan. Need to find myself. Well, I will agree with that. You do need to find yourself. You first need to take it to the Lord, and you need to find your therapist, a damn good one. And you need to learn how to deal with people, how to deal with social issues, because you are now free. And at some point, you do need to be on your own. Is she ready to be on her own? I don't know. She might need to live with her parents. I can't say. But I do know she has a long road, because you're talking about from birth with a mother, sadist mother, to 20-something years old going to penitentiary, and then being released at almost 30. That's a life right there. Birth to almost 30, being held captive mentally. And the worst place for a person who's been held captive mentally is to go to penitentiary. But she liked it there because she was able to breathe, she says, talk to people, make friends. But are those really genuine friendships in prison? Some people will say yes, they still are friends with people from prison. Everything depends on perception. And she is not somebody who will be good with perception. Does she know how to read another manipulative person? Stay woke. Does she know how to navigate? Because she has not been free but 3 months. 3 months. She has a long road ahead of her. Once again, how long will she live with her parents? Will it work out? Will she be able to go out on her own? Will the judge make Ryan Anderson pay her spousal support? Will he fight the divorce? Will he hold out, not sign the paperwork? What will happen between the two? What will happen with this ex-boyfriend, Mr. Urker? Will they resume into a relationship, or are they already in one? Will she end up moving in with him, getting a place? How much money has she received from her documentaries? Will the judge rule against Mr. Ryan paying her spousal support because she has made income? How much money does she have total right now in her bank account? Should he be ordered to pay her spousal support? What's that order of protection all about? Will she come back on social media? Will she tell us the truth to why she left him? And will he tell us the truth of what's been going on the past 3 months between them in their house? Is he sad? Is he hurt? Is he feeling volatile? Was he volatile to her? Was he possessive? Was he a clout chaser? What is Ryan Anderson going to do pertaining to this filing of a divorce? God forbid he decides to act crazy and do something to her. I'm just saying, you don't know people. You don't know people. I asked you this question months ago on my page, community page, if this relationship would work. And there must have been a reason for the queen to ask, because now we're 3 months in and she has filed for a divorce and moved out of her home with Ryan Anderson. The universe was obviously talking to the queen, and it heard me, because they're now separated. Or maybe this was the plan all along. Did Gypsy Rose concoct a plan to get some type of monetary gain, hoping somebody would reach out to her for commentary, for pay, stay with this man just enough so she could file for a divorce and seek a divorce and get monetary gain from Mr. Ryan? Was this an elaborate plan to get paid and do nothing? Lie back like a fat cat and get money from whomever? Because what if we later find out this was all a ruse, just to get some type of payment, money to live off of for free? If not Mr. Ryan, it would have been somebody else, some unlucky bloke, as our Brits love to say. Is he just an unlucky bloke in love? Or was this a plan, intricate, detailed, manipulative, deliberate plan to use someone out here, and Ryan Anderson just happened to be the fall guy? Or will some of you say, you reap what you sow? You chose this and you didn't know her. She was a young person with the mind of a 12-year-old going into prison, and you should have known better, sir. You should have not gotten involved. You should have not reached out to her. You could have prayed for her from your living room sofa and kept it moving. What say you, the chat? Deliberate plan to get money from somebody out here? She did love it. He loved her, loves her still. Does she still love him? Or was this an intricate plan to get money? What will the judge rule in this dissolution of a marriage between Ryan and Gypsy Rose? We will see. I want to thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful week. I will post the movie of the week later this evening for your entertainment. It has Matthew McConaughey starring in this movie. Oh, I can't wait for you all to watch it. I'm currently watching it now. I had to put it on pause to do this live stream because I wanted to get this live stream out to you. just bringing you different contents on this network. I hope you enjoy this live stream and future content on this network. Like, share, subscribe, drop your comments below. Put your comments also on a community page. Take the polls pertaining to all three topics, the Chrisley'S, Gypsy Rose and Ryan, and also Mr. Morgan Wallen, who threw a chair over a building roof in Nashville. He has issued a public apology to those he felt deemed necessary. Gypsy Rose has moved out, filed for divorce, living with her parents. And the Chrisley'S are still incarcerated, and they have went to court asking for a new trial, citing improprieties between the district attorney and an investigator, IRS investigator. The investigator has filed a suit against him, won that judgment, $755,000. Will he pay that judgment? We will see. I believe he's also fighting that. Daughter, very vocal, Miss Savannah, wanting her parents to have a new trial. I don't feel like they deserve a new trial, only if there's evidence to show that the monies were not calculated correctly of taxes paid. Now, if there's a discrepancy in the taxes owed, then yes, some time should be knocked off, but not for everything else. Because in the end, it's fraud that got them into prison in the first place. So you can't negate paying back taxes after being found guilty. You still owe the taxes regardless. And people are going to say, well, if you can pay 4 months after a guilty verdict, you should have paid beforehand. So you still told on yourself. 3-part live. Feel free to go back for the replay. As I said, comment, let me know your thoughts under this video. Go to my community page. You feel free to post your comments there on all the topics and the polls. Please take the polls, because this is how I know, how you think about the subject matter at hand and the people in the storylines. That's why I post the poll, so you can give your opinion pertaining to the matter at hand. I want to thank you. If you'd like to donate, $BeGanji, 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Happy Sunday, everybody. I will be back with more stimulating content and breaking news this week. Before I check out here, I want to say this pertaining to the bridge that collapsed. There are theories running around that it was done deliberately, but our government wants you to know that they don't have any information that that bridge was done deliberately. So they want you to debunk all these theories about the bridge collapse. There is a federal investigation, naturally, into the bridge collapse, because it happened on, U.S. soil and waterways that are vital for transportation coming from abroad and into the States. And naturally, prices will go up from this bridge collapsing. But what you have to tell yourself is the obvious. Why would a person want to take a barge and run it into a bridge knowing that the bridge would collapse and could kill them? I found that interesting. I didn't never really hear about who was running the barge and if they were alive or deceased. I hadn't really heard much. But would I drive a barge into a bridge? Now, flip side of that is people have done these type of things deliberately as to kill themselves and kill other people. As we've seen with an Asian airliner going down into the abyss many years ago. The pilot deliberately drove an airplane into the ocean. We have had that happen. People have done malicious deeds as far as driving trucks, cars, vehicles, airliners into water, buildings, so on and so forth. But the government so far says they have no evidence that this was a deliberate plan to bring down this bridge. And I thought I'd throw that in there. Thank you so much for your time. Y'all have a wonderful week. You have been listening to the Vault XL. Thank you.